Welcome to Movie World, the place where we only talk movies. I'm Andy Signor, and I'm here to review Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings, the latest entry into Phase 4 of the MCU. And if you watched me over on Popcorn Planet about, I guess, 2 weeks now, you would have saw my initial reaction to this film. Sorry for the delay in getting this video up, but we were in Vegas last week, and I missed. I wanted to do it in studio. I also wanted to sit on it a little bit more because I saw a lot of people really upset with me comparing it to what other critics thought. But I stand by it. I really think the critics have overhyped this film, and I know it affected my experience. So I wanted to try and tamper expectations a bit. I'm sure a lot of Marvel fans are going to really enjoy this film. And let me be clear, I didn't hate this movie. I was a bit disappointed based on all the hype. And I do think this film ultimately falls right in the middle of MCU films, just in that I do feel like we've seen a lot of this before. I think a lot of people are excited with, look, I do think with fair reason at the representation of this film. But I think we got to look away from that and review the film as a film itself. And as a film itself, it's a pretty standard MCU entry. There's not a lot of surprise to this. For me personally, there wasn't. All right, so let me break down some more of the reasons as to what my issues were with this film. I want to start with a positive. There are some really cool fight sequences. The martial arts in this are good. Simu Liu, is it? I'm sorry if I'm saying his name wrong. Correct me in the comments, please. I'm still learning. So bad with all names. But I think it's Simu Liu as Shang-Chi. He does some cool fight sequences. I did like it. But the sequences get more and more magical as the film progresses, and that's where they started to lose me. As the film gets into the fantastical, it loses its sort of grittiness that I really think the film would have been better with. If they had actually made this film more of like Daredevil or even The Raid and not needed to go into those crazy big CGI places, I think the movie would have been really cool, especially if it had been able to go a little darker, which the film sort of does at some points, attempts to go with his father and the sort of struggles of that. There are some dark moments in this film that I just really wish they would have just leaned into more instead of going on to the fantasy adventure that they decided to go on. Those parts of the film, the dark, gritty parts, the martial arts parts, that's where the film shines. And I think a lot of people are going to enjoy those parts and maybe distract them enough to sort of not pay attention to the rest of it and just tag along. But for me, the reason it's more of a mixed bag is because I really like those parts and I didn't connect as much to especially the third act CGI stuff that it turns into. My other main problem is just like, look, the cast, they're very meh. It's a whole batch of them. They're just eh. Like, let me explain. Like, Awkwafina, like, I've liked her in movies. I think, and she's funny at times here, but she's playing the same Awkwafina role I've seen her do 100 times now. Like Ocean's 7, Raya and the Last Dragon. She showed up in Jumanji, too. She's shown up in so much stuff as sort of the sarcastic, awkward Awkwafina, and I've seen it before. There's nothing she offered new to the character of Katie that I haven't seen her do in 10 other roles. And I feel like they cast like the it person, who's the new comedic it person, and it was a missed opportunity because it wasn't a surprise and it wasn't something I need to see again personally. And I like her. I liked her in The Farewell, just so we're fully. I liked her and some other stuff. I'm just getting a little tired of her. Then we move over to the sister. I'm not even going to attempt to butcher her name. I apologize. But the Shang-Chi's sister, she's just playing the same character archetype of, she was living in the shadows of the father who didn't believe in her and believed in the son, and she's grown bitter and is going to prove herself. And it's interesting. It could have been interesting in a drama, but in this, I didn't care. I just didn't care that much. I don't need to see more of her. I understood where it was all going. She really gets screwed in the movie, and I don't know why they wrote it so obviously, and it's just such an obvious direction that she goes in and everything else that I just didn't connect personally. Didn't think she acted very well. It was very one-dimensional, bitter sister character. And she has a couple cool moments in the beginning, but as the film progresses, I feel like even they sort of lose it, just like the father of the movie loses attention, and then tries to like fix that. Anyway, I wasn't that impressed. And then we come to Shang-Chi himself, and he's very likable. He's a handsome, likable guy. But given like the darkness of the movie, given his background, when you learn that the movie is really about him as a child being sort of trained by this evil father. Wenwu is the character, played by Tony Leung, who I'll get to in a second. Simu Liu is just missing that those textures, just a dimension to himself. It's just he plays so likable that I just don't believe his past secret life. I don't believe his hardships and his pain. He's such a likable, handsome guy that all the darkness that the film sort of has elements of that I really was connecting more to, I just never bought it. I never bought it through him because he just sort of plays one note throughout the film. There's a few moments where he gets to like yell and get more emotional, and it definitely is better. But I don't even blame him. I blame the script. I think the script just didn't write a good character for him as much as interesting as it could have. Now, look, I had the same problem with Captain America in the first Captain America, to be fully fair. Thor, I feel like as a character has gotten better. There's potential for this character. I don't dislike him, but I think in a first entry, he didn't wow me like he's wowed everybody else. He's a likable, handsome guy, which we have a lot of in the MCU. And I just need a little bit more background to him. Even like Star-Lord had some like moments where Chris Pratt, stopped being so funny and got emotional because of like the loss of his mother and who his father was. Like Chris Pratt was able to act rings around Simu Liu, in my opinion, and is such a goofy character actor that I don't know. It didn't impress me as much as I wanted it to. And again, I think he has potential. I don't want to just say he's terrible. He's not. I just think the script didn't really fully give him enough to work with. And the director or whatever was so focused on all the other MCU action that they didn't really give him the nuance that I wish they had, personally, for me. I'm sure others will disagree and say they connected to him, and great. But for me, all three of the actors are just they're okay. They're okay. And it's like if I compare it to Black Widow, a movie that I didn't like that much either, I still remember Red Guardian. I still remember Yelena. Like Florence Poe, like impressed me way better than Awkwafina. Like as a comedic relief side character with a backstory and conflict, there was so much more to digest in, and why I actually ended up liking that film more than I thought I would because of the family drama. And I know a lot of critics didn't buy that family drama, so it does become a bit of a, you're either in or you're out. But I think Yelena was a character that even everybody at the end of that movie, like, man, I want to see more of her. There's a lot of interesting, funny but dark and serious. There was a lot to her, and I didn't get that vibe with any of these characters. They're all sort of one-note characters, in my opinion. The character who's meant to shine, is our villain, Wenwu, Tony Leung, and he's good. He's good. Now, I have a problem, sort of spoiler here. I'm going to wave my hands when I'm done. So when you see me waving my hands, I'll cut away from this. That's when you can, if you want to mute for a second on this spoiler report, it's just, I think you know what's going to happen, but in case you want to go in completely unbiased, I just have a little bit of a rant I need to go on. So here we go. I'm going to say something. So mute, you've been warned. My problem with him is they make him another anti-hero. And I wanted a Mandarin, he's the Mandarin, guys. I wanted a Mandarin that was just vicious, a villain without any sign of redemption. And Marvel once again gives us the anti-hero of he's misunderstood because he loved her, and it really bummed me out. I want Marvel to make a villain that's a villain that doesn't have the redemption quality. It's not an anti-hero. That isn't like, I love you, son. I want a villain, and there were moments of this where you feel like, oh, this guy's a villain, but then they turn it into a father-son story and regret and all this stuff. That to me, it's just. Different movie. I don't know. All of his villainous stuff went away because I just didn't feel as much. I wanted to, but personally, I wanted more of a badass villain, and for him to realize his dad is irredeemable, to me, would have been more interesting and left him with more pain and more to deal with, and just a more interesting thing to move forward, because you never really could get over that. And I thought it was just too much. Anyway, again, that's why I warned you. Some spoilers. It's all just tied up a little bit too much by the end, where I'm like, oh, you even ruined, you once again ruined the Mandarin. Like, why couldn't we have had a villain that was like a villain for the whole time? And again, third act is where things really fell apart. So spoilers over. Okay, done talking spoilers about the villain. But in sort of continuing, the third act of this movie really disappointed me. I was disappointed by it because they sort of go into a fantastical world that I don't need to go back to. I was not that impressed with. But clear, I suspect we will. Character choices, everything, it's just all predictable, and all of the sort of surprise and grittiness that I see a lot of critics harping on, to me, went out the window. And I wish they would have just embraced that more, personally, than going fantastical and comedic and everything that they sort of chose to do instead. Now, the end of the film does have, the end of the film is like turns into Harry Potter with like a wand battle, or the Battle of the Rings. Who's going to get him, guys? I wonder. But again, it's just like, I'm so bored of these CGI fests. Yes, Endgame was a big CGI fest, but it was like earned over 10 years. Seeing those characters united, I was like, yes, of course that's what I want. There were moments of silliness, even I will admit. But now every Marvel movie feels like it has to end with some sort of sky beams, energy beams, whatever it is, energy door. It's like there's just some big dumb thing that has to happen for the heroes to beat, and I'm over it. I don't want to keep seeing that third act finale. I would have rather seen a character turn or whatever, like versus each other. And I don't know. I this could have been cool as a martial arts film with some CGI stuff. Instead, it becomes a martial arts film that just turns completely CGI, and that personally was where I got disappointed in this film. Why can't we have big budget, lower stakes films? Every MCU movie's got to turn into crazy effects. Every one. And I personally, yes, the effects have gotten better and they're cool, but personally, I feel like it takes away from the movie and the characters and the story, and I don't need to keep seeing it. I'm getting bored of the big... Unless I really know these characters or they're bringing back characters you don't know, and it's big... It's got to be more earned, and I just didn't feel like they earned this. They're rushing through a story. It gets too hung up on story, too hung up on justifications for the story. I just didn't care that much about a lot of it, just to take us to this fantastical world at the end. That ultimately is where they lost me. There's another character that returns that you may or may not know about, and I wanted to like it, and I liked it at the beginning, but ultimately I was like, does this make sense? Does it? I'm still indifferent on it. I'm still figuring it out. Although that feather, the weird dog turkey, I don't know what the hell that was. Who the hell wants to buy that? Did anybody else, when you see it, tell me if you want to buy the dog turkey. You'll know what I'm talking about. Look, overall, I seem more harsh on it just because I'm a little disappointed based, again, on all the hype. There was so much hype that was hyping this up as like this amazing, crazy big superhero film, like with stakes like Logan and action like The Raid. And I was like, damn, all right. All these critics seem to be agreeing. And I just went in super bummed that I didn't enjoy it. I hope you do. Maybe you watch my review and it hampers your expectations a bit, that you go in and you go, Andy, you're crazy. I loved it. I want nothing more than everybody to enjoy this film. That's the other thing. It's so frustrating. Please enjoy the film. I hope you enjoy the film. I wish I enjoyed the film more personally, but these are the reasons why I didn't. Overall, it didn't connect to me. I hope we can connect to him more. I would like to see this character again. His side characters, not so much, but him, I'm okay seeing him again, and I hope, just like Captain America did, he can grow on us, and a better director might be able to give him a little extra dimensions and put a better script and action sequences that make us even more connected to him. I hope. There are 2 end credit scenes. I really enjoyed the first end credit scene. The first end credit scene is awesome and sets the tone that I look forward to talking to you guys with a spoiler chat at some point, which will probably stream next week. Next Tuesday. The final end credit scene after the credit scene, I didn't like, and I'll explain why more when we can. But you'll probably figure it out after you watch my review and you see it. Then you'll realize what I said in my review. Oh, yeah, that's why I didn't like it. Personally, didn't like it. But the first one's worth sticking around for. So overall, those are my thoughts. Let me know what you guys thought. If you haven't subscribed already here to Movie World and you made this far and you like my reviews, hit that subscribe button, hit that bell, hit that like, and leave a comment down below of your expectation level, or come back when you watch the movie and tell me what you thought if I'm crazy. I appreciate all you guys watching here on Movie World. Lots more movie content coming, and lots more pop culture coverage coming over on Popcorn Planet. Thanks for watching, everybody.